Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening for part 2 of Weekend Warriors. It's the turn of the SRFs, and we had the Formula Fords earlier on from Interlagos. If you went with us, where were you? It was an epic race. Jason Green won out winner. And well, what are we going to see here today as we head to Germany, round 9? And after tonight, we'll be getting into the final quarter of the season. Where has it gone? I am Tim Cox. We've got Josh Wilkie in the virtual production trailer. As always, joined by Tom Dillon. Tom, welcome along. Well, it's just another day in Weekend Warriors, really, isn't it?
Yes, and Hockenheim to date, the host Tim, and what a track Hockenheim is. Not on the Formula 1 calendar anymore, got removed after 2019, but given new life in series like this, and did an endurance race on here earlier in the year. Absolutely loved that, and I have to say it's one of those free-flowing tracks, one of Tilke's better works.
Definitely. Real shame that that the road run out into the forest. I'm a bit older than yourself. It brings back all those great memories. Such an epic track was that old school layout. Sadly gone, but understandably for many reasons. But back to more pressing matters. Let's take a look at the championship standings. And well, it's Marco Panera leading the way. We said it all last season. We picked up where we left off this season, and it has continued. But he's starting to come more and more under threat as the rounds passes by. It's Jason Green who lies in second. It's a healthy margin, but that's largely due to Marco Panera's handiwork at the start of the season, where he was just completely and utterly untouchable. Megan Overstreet, she lies in third, but only by 1 point ahead of Kane Lasky. Bradford Gould in fifth, then it's Dantas, Dandalo, Wood, Rodriguez, and Weisshuzel to round out your top 10. Across now into Spec 2, and well, McCain, what a season he is having. Rejuvenating. Half the time when we speak to him, he doesn't quite know how he's managed it. 2 in-class wins coming at Phillip Island and Lime Rock so far this season. Phil Berry, he's in second, but he is now, in fact, 37 points adrift. But Ken Batley, he's been demoted down into third, but only 5 points between himself and Berry. Josh Justice third. Then we've got Jeff Wibka in fifth. Then Gibson, Vaglini, Jackson Vogler, and Pocock to round out your top 10. Across into Masters, and well, this has been a pound for pound the best championship of the three so far this season. More twists and turns than Oh, something that twists and turns a lot that I can't think of right now. Tom Gradwell leads the way, though, on 413. Stephen Mitchell having one of his best seasons today in second. Brad Cathcart third. Brewster fourth. But none of the big names inside that top five, with Nunes rounding out. Race is sixth. Longin seventh. Marnie eighth. Murakami ninth. The three big names you normally expect to see near the top, with Bob Kern rounding out that top 10. And, well, that midfield in that top 10 is just anyone's up for grabs. Back to tonight, though, and, well, qualifying just got a couple of minutes left, haven't we? And it's business as usual, isn't it, Tom, really? Marco Pinheiro, top of the table. Duda Castro, same as last week, on the front row with him.
And I have to say, Pinheiro-wise, he seems to have really come into his own in the last few rounds specifically. I hadn't really noticed him as a championship contender necessarily throughout much of the early leg of the season, and then all of a sudden in the last couple of rounds he's just come into his own light. And well, there you see again, he's into the pits. However, so even though he's on pole position at the moment, it's not quite enough for him, because Castro is going to have one more bite at the cherry, so to speak, on his outlap at the moment. Here is Dudu Castro, and now the question I have is, will he get around in time to start a flying lap? I don't believe he will, actually. He's heading up into turn 6 now, the hairpin, and with 50 seconds to go, this better be a timed lap, and it better be an iRacing timing glitch. I don't think that is enough time.
It's enough time to complete his lap, but no, like you say, he's not going to get round in time. He's the Texaco Racing by TK driver. Jason Green, he is on a lap though, Tom. Good news, and he could, well, 3 attempts is between himself. Well, not even that realistically, more like 2.5 attempts between himself and pole. Can he snatch it away from the clutches, or at least get himself onto the front row? I tell you, Race, look at him. Well, leaps up the timing board like a salmon there into 5th. 3rd row of the grid for him. He'll be sharing that with Evandro Dantas. Just look at, I mean, I say it every week about people looking like they're out of position, Tom. But the way this field has started stacking itself up at the top half, realistically, to get inside that top 10, it is nigh on impossible, and anyone could do it on their day, realistically, because there's such a high caliber of drivers up there who are vying for it, all the way down to 15th, realistically, maybe even 20th at times.
And I think that is why we're seeing drivers like Jorg Marni and Rice and Murakami not necessarily within the top 5 in their championships, despite the fact that that's where they've been for most of the season. They just get themselves caught up in those battles that run all the way from 3rd down to 8th, and then get themselves caught up in incidents. That's been the story of this season. I'll hand that point for a moment, because we have got Jason Green trying to see as he rounds the final 2 corners of this Hockenheim circuit into turn 17 and into the pit lane. So it's going to be a pole position then for Marco Pinheiro. We can say that much. Old crikey, that was Megan Overstreet, I think, having a major incident in pit lane. That's a bit of a moment for Megan there.
Andrea Favini, that's an astounding qualifying from him. No disrespect to Andrea, the Swede, really, really high up, 4th on the grid, 2nd row. That's astonishing qualifying from him. Really, really strong. So, really, really intrigued to see how he gets on the race. Normally, you expect to see him knocking around 10th to 15th, that sort of area, maybe, 8th maybe. So, yeah, absolutely on a blinder right now. In terms of respect to Phil Berry, has taken pole in that he starts 12th, although Ellen McCain just behind him. Those 2 championship rivals. You see Gary Walbolt looping it round there, and Tom, I think that's going to be a really, the hairpin. You see, you come up full chat through the parabolica, hard onto the brakes, and from the fastest part of the circuit to the slowest part, cold tyres. I think that could be treacherous on the first lap.
Yeah, I think it could, and I think especially if you're sort of lower down in the pack, it's very easy to think you've got more speed into that corner than you actually do, and go for a dive bomb on people that perhaps is a miscalculation, and all of a sudden you find yourself into the car, not ahead of you, but 2 cars ahead of you, and that is well, that is never ideal. Very overcast conditions as well. We've got some description of a real weather plug-in here in the SRF Weekend Warriors, in that it's relatively representative of what is going on there at the track right now. So overcast conditions, difficult conditions, not quite the German summertime that we would have expected, but here is your grid.
Marco Pinero starts from pole. Dudu Castro with him on the front row. Then we've got Jason Green and Andrea Favini lining up on row 2. I do believe that's Andrea's highest ever qualifying in the SRF Weekend Warriors, so congratulations to him. And Teddy Racing, highest qualifier in Masters, starts 5th alongside Evandro Dantas. Then we've got Overstreet and Marnie on row 4. Row 5 sees Jason Perry and Les Plaver line up alongside each other to round out the top 10.
And, well, we've missed out on 11th and 12th, but Alan McCain is in 13th. Oh, there we go. Chris Murakami and Phil Berry, row 6. McCain and Gardini on row 7. And it's Ken Bately, Tom Gradwell, Paolo Gori and Chris Montgomery, row 9. Dan Wood and Luca Leone, row 10.
Row 11 sees Kurt Nunes line up alongside Jim Brewster. And then we have Jess Jackson and Ian Gibson on row 12. Brad Cathcart has got Jenny Longin company on row 13. Row 14 is Josh Justice and Bradford Gould, the All-American row, with Andrew Love alongside Jesus Rodriguez, who's taken the Andres Bertoni approach, not really qualifying of late. He starts 30th.
And then in 31st is Adam Bradshaw with Caleb Pocock alongside him, Jeff Rupke and Bob Kern, 33rd and 34th. Row 18, Gary Volbolts and Flavio Andalo. And that is the grid. Only 30.
I know, it caught me off guard at 36. I was like, no, there should be more. There's always more than that. I mean, having said that, 18 rows, you do not get that anywhere else, folks. Welcome to the Weekend Warriors. And while everyone just lines up behind the Porsche 911 safety car, I see our series organizer Stevie Ray has put in a really shortened formation lap. Thank you to him for that. So I better roll through on 2 sponsors for the series. First off, we've got RaceVoice. A simple way to transform complicated performance data into easy to understand voice notifications alerts. They have over 16 different notifications, including up and down shift, over rev alert, corner entry, turn in and exit speed. It provides immediate feedback on driver and vehicle performance. You can find out more about heading across to racevoice.com. And then we've got a newcomer. Well, I say newcomer. 2 seasons deep now, our Apex Racing Academy with 29 data packs, including setups, track guides, integration with VRS or Virtual Racing School, given their full name, weekly group coaching sessions, one-on-one coaching sections, and much, much more to help you go faster on track. But meanwhile, let's get ready to go racing. Round 9 of the SRF Weekend Warriors is green. We are away, and Pinero just leaps away from everyone. Jason Green and Favini go side by side into turn 1. Well, that turns into a free wide there with Dantas and Race getting involved as they stream down to turn 2 for the first time this evening. Everyone line astern trying to make their way through, but already Castro and Pinero start to eke up a little bit of a gap on Jason Green, Tom.
Well, Marco Pinero won in controversial fashion last week, is under pressure this week once more. We're now looking at Phil Berry, who's holding off the people behind him, Gardini and Gori, having a little bit of a battle. Gori's going to go to the inside here of Gardini, try and get through as they tentatively make their way up into that hairpin for the first time. It's turn 6 of this racetrack, and there, down the inside goes Gardini. Will he get through? Oh, it's 3 wide. It's almost a little bit of a sandwich. We have got cars through cleanly, and I think that is a little bit lucky.
Yeah, well,
oh, no, we don't. No, we don't.
I think there's been a big shunt behind. We'll cut to that in a bit. Undoubtedly, Jenny Longin, Ian Gibson caught up in it. Jim Brewster as well are gutting for his Masters Championship aspirations for him. Meanwhile, up front, while they're heading off into the distance, no, well, not quite though. Only half a second covering them in what forms of one long train from first all the way down to 30th. Bradford Gould all in one line. As we take a look at the replay, let's see what happened. Ooh. Does Jason Green have a bit of a bump with Pinero coming off the line? Maybe. So let's head back to live pitches as Kurt Nunes.
These
So
are
have a
still
bit of gap open. Oh, they are, aren't they? Ah,
This is what
apologies.
happened to Kurt Nunes as he... That's sim... what's it called? Netcode. Is it not? I did not see him on my screen anyway. He did not make any contact at all. Or just lost his rib. He lost his bonnet.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bizarre one for as Netcode goes. Yeah, minor assist contact, but didn't even like buffet his car around either. But even so, he's heading into the pits. The drivers do have one fast repair to the name, but that's looking like Kurt Nunes is out of the equation, and that shakes things up in Masters as well. And we are getting down to the business end of things, folks. Only 3 more rounds left after this evening. They're still in one long train. They're swapping around here. Overstreet just losing a place there to Jörg Marni. He's moves up into the 7th. Next up for him is, well, his old foe, his old sparring partner, Antonio Race, just ahead of him. They make their way through now towards the Mercedes Arena. Still all line instead. I mean, it has thinned out a little bit towards the back, but this train starts at first now and only ends at 20th. Only.
And yeah, well, this is pretty much par for the course in SRF Weekend Warriors. We see it every week, and we're seeing it this week as well. Look at Chris Murakami, slightly out of position where he wants to be. I would say he wants to be in that top 10. At the moment, it's actually behind Alan McCain that he is having to look at, driving in his rearview mirrors for the time being. Alan McCain, he seems to always either win or spin out here in SRF Weekend Warriors. He's got the lead of that Spec 2 championship. And I wonder how aggressively he's going to be inclined to race the Masters driver of that 901. I don't know what the delta is at the top of the field. I believe, though, Marco Pinero has got himself a nice little gap to Dudu Castro. So that will be interesting. I need to refresh my memory on this, Tim, but I'm pretty sure it was Dudu Castro that was racing Marco Pinero for that win last time out. And, well, we all know how that ended.
It was indeed, Tom. They came to blows. Castro said it was netcode. A lot of his fans and friends in the chat were not quite as convinced. We're still not quite sure at the commentary booth, but we have to take Dudu's word for it. Well, there's still battles up and down the field ensuing. Starting to get some little gaps emerging right now. Our top 3 starting to break away. Top 4, apologies, being Pinero, Green, Dantas and Castro. Meanwhile, just seeing Chris Montgomery having a little bit of a move here up the inside. Can he get it done? Ken Batley just behind him and losing that place. And, well, you can see why there's so many incidents down at the hairpin, can't you, Tom? Because the way that everyone just compresses up together is so dramatic.
Evandro Dantas eyeing up a podium on Jason Green, but Jason Green is looking at our leading pair himself. That is an interesting battle that is developing. Where does Green want to be in this train at this early stage in the race? Wide goes Pinero. Now Green has a sniff of an opportunity on Castro, but not able to make good on it into Sebastian Vettel's favourite corner on this racetrack. Very tricky. Slightly off camber, that one, and well, Jason Green not wanting to be overly aggressive there. This is the one thing that we see in the Weekend Warriors, of course, is the fact that these guys want to do the bulk of the running in formation for the time being. It pretty much comes down to where do they want to be in that line, in that train, at what time. By the looks of things, to me anyway, Tim, it looks like Castro, Green and Dantas pretty happy where they are at the moment.
Seems that way at the moment, Tom, doesn't it? And Marco Pinero's taken on almost the Aero Nom mantle, where the Aero serial winner here, serial championship winner, in fact, holds the record for the highest number of championships in the SRF Weekend Warriors at 5 to his name. A lot of them coming in very recent times. As you've seen, Jorg Marni making his way past Andrea Favini there, who started on row 2, has dropped down to 7th now. Sadly for him. So they make their way through. Well, Antonio Race has just passed him as well. But yeah, I remember speaking to Aero Norm and him saying, asking about the fuel saving side and working with other people. You say, I don't care what they're doing. I'm just running my own race. If they want to fuel save, it's up to them. And Marco Pinero seems to have taken on that mantle from Aero Norm right now, where he's just had it all his own way. Up until the last few recent rounds, where the likes of Castro and Green and Dantas have really started taking the fight to the Italian. And, well, as a third party, as a neutral, it's definitely, fascinating to see. And I can't wait for each week to roll around. That's what it's rolling around. Gardini looking like he's had a bit of extra body roll compared to the cars around him there, the Swiss driver. Murakami in front of him, McCain behind him. McCain, your leader in Spec 2.
And holding on well is Alan. He's not at the leader in Spec 2, is he? Because he's that Gory who's gone through and up a spot, and he gets himself into the lead of Spec 2. Where is Alan McCain? He's fallen down into 14th position. So
I think Josh, who's our new producer this week, so I think he's been given the wrong project file, because he's got Marco Pinero as the Spec 2 driver.
Yes.
And I was thinking, when you said it, I was like, oh, Paolo Gori, he's 5k iRacing, he's in Spec 1. And did someone come off that? Maybe not.
Yes,
I thought I heard tyres squealing, and there was a lot of smoke there. Oh, well, there's a very damaged front end for Jason Perry, and he's losing a lot of places. Yeah. I think that may well be as he exited stage right, and, well, there you go, he's jumped to the pits. Something I think there happened, Tom, down at Einfart.
Paolo Gory, we are getting confirmation that the project file is slightly messed up, so we do apologise about that. So it is Alan McCain who leads, we believe, in Spec 2. Paolo Gory, it's not going to really matter anyway because he's off of the circuit. Oh dear, almost taking someone out. Marco Pinero is obviously your overall leader and the Spec 1 leader. He is in the championship as well. Has that kicked up into gear? No, it hasn't. I thought it had for a moment. Marni leads in Masters. That's another important thing. He was returned to form after a difficult couple of weeks for Jorg Marni. We're a quarter of the way through this race, waiting for those pit windows to open. Theoretically, you could come into the pits now as we see Dan Wood diving down the inside, or in fact, it wasn't Dan Wood, it was Berry trying to dive down the inside of him. Favini comes into the pits. So a quarter of the way through this race, pit window potentially open, and Favini potentially taking his earliest opportunity.
You said about seeing contact being made, Tom. Paolo Gori was involved. I couldn't quite work out who the other car was. It was Andrea Favini. So he's elected to take his pit early. I mean, he's well inside the pit window, although it does tend to be running it in longer, does tend to work a lot better, as he's elected to try and get some fresh air. It probably feels like he's being ganged up on quite a bit in these early stages of the race. Yeah, the opening 10 minutes, first quarter complete. And, well, it's going to give him, a bit of fresh air. He's going to come out in 31st. Sounds dramatic, but it's really, really not, because all 30 cars in front of him are yet to stop. So he will be climbing places. And quite often, especially a track like this where it's so compacted, just by being able to get out in some fresh air by yourself is what you need, because you can lay down some really quick times and then jumping places like that. Well, talking of jumping places, this lot aren't. They're still line astern. Pinero, Castro, Green and Dantas, they haven't changed since the opening lap.
And don't expect to see them change for a while either. Green here will sit in pretty, so will Dantas, so will Castro. Castro found his mark last week to attack, and when he did attack, we saw how it ended, and well, he'll be hoping to do one better this week then he didn't actually make that move stick. If it were me, I would be looking at what Marco Pinera has been doing over the last couple of weeks and thinking, well, he's at the top of that order and he's holding on to these race wins. I'm going to get to the lead of that train early. But that's not the plan that Castro's gone for. That's not the plan that any of these guys have gone for. And for now, they stay line of stern. We have had a few changes of position. Flavio Andalo and Brad Cathcart getting past Dan Wood. So he's down a couple of positions and, in fact, into the pit lane as well. Chris Montgomery past Phil Berry also when they went around the back end of the track. So there's Dan Wood into the pits. You would imagine he'll be able to go to the end if not taking his fast repair already. Gory's into the pits as well. That's interesting. Here's a battle for the Masters lead then as Jorg Marni gets overtaken by Rice. Will Marni find a way back through? I don't think he's going to as they go down into the turn 6 hairpin. We'll see if he can get onto the power early enough, but no.
Still plenty of opportunity though, isn't it? We've still got plenty of racing left to do. Marni still remains in that second place in class 6th overall, with the race just ahead of him in 5th and leading Masters. As we see further down through the field, Andrew Love, he's had a good start. He's up 6 places and 6 seconds clear of Jesus Rodriguez, the Spaniard just behind him after he's elected to take on the, as I said earlier, the Andreas Bertoni mantle of starting from near the back and carving his way for the field. It hasn't quite worked out for the Spaniard today, but this is cracking racing up and down through the field. We've seen the battle for 16th, Jacobson, Cathcart and Darlow. Justice, Pocock all caught up in this one, and Luca Leone not too far behind. As soon as this lot starts battling, he will be up, will the Italian, getting his, well, his front end and his elbows out, where probably this lot don't want him to.
And these guys aren't going to be running line of stern. These guys pretty much all gloves off. And we'll see what Brad Cathcart is able to do in defence to these guys charging behind him. Flavio Andalo is, well, attacking as they go through turn 1. Very difficult exit to this corner. Looks like Cathcart's got the better of it. We'll see what that slipstream brings for Flavio Andalo, though, as they go up into turn 2. There's a dive in the background. That is Pocock on Justice. Pocock gets through to the apex early. And now a real chance as Marni gets past Rice. That's for the Masters lead. We see Flavio Andalo trying to attack Brad Cathcart. This is Caleb Pocock. Justice just behind him. There is the move. Flavio Andalo gets through to the inside line. Has got to do it on the brakes though. Into turn 6. You would assume he has that inside. In fact, he gets clear before the braking zone even starts. So Flavio Andalo with a straight line speed. There's a dive in the background. That is Pocock getting through on Cathcart. Cathcart might lose another spots here. In the meantime, he won't. So there we go. That is how that works.
For now. And just having a bit of a look through everyone's stops so far. So you mentioned about Favini. Came out in 31st, I think it was. He's up into 29th. So he's making his way through the field bit by bit and making up for lost time and lost ground. But trying to make up for lost ground, Gradwell currently lying 4th and well off the back of Murakami and Surly, Race and Marni in the Masters standings here today at Hockenheimring, and really embroiled in this battle with fellow countryman Phil Berry just in front of him. Whoa, except there's a big mistake there from Berry and he drops 3 places because of it. As Batley and Jacobson head through. Well, Batley and Berry have actually headed into the pits, so nice easy position gain in the end for Tom Gradwell.
Yeah, I would take that all day, as we've got more people diving into the pits. Is this potentially a Hockenheim fuel mileage issue? It's one of the larger tracks we've had to race at, but I wonder if there's a fuel issue here.
Well, yes and no. I think what's playing part of it here, Tom, is that we're seeing so much close racing as Batley just heads out of the pits, and the Brit has got the jump on Phil Berry there, so that's worked out nicely for him. But what I think it is, Tom, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is that because it's a relatively a short track by a FIA Grade A, so Grade 1 circuit, only 2.8 miles, 4.5 kilometers. That we have such large grids here that realistically you're going to come up against someone who you can slipstream with and work with, and or just pass and not lose too much time being caught up in a battle relatively easily and quickly. So I think they're just electing to come out in space and just go hell for leather and then make up time by utilising the undercut while there's still an element of space out on track, and you're not tripping up with too many people, but there's just enough that you can pick off some people easily.
There probably isn't a great advantage running in the slipstream here either. You look at somewhere like Charlotte, where you've got that basically half of the track is an oval section of racetrack, whereas here you've got 2 straights. I mean, in these cars, slipstream is always going to be effective, but perhaps the time you can gain by not having to be cautious, following someone through the sort of infield section, so to speak, perhaps that is a little bit greater than we would have expected. And that is why we're seeing these undercuts being made. Perhaps even it's a case of the total opposite of what I'm saying, and that fuel mileage is actually very good, and we see people coming into the pits intentionally making that undercut, as you alluded to, Tim. But we'll take a break from that tangent for a moment, because we have got a battle for the lead in the Masters. These two haven't really shown too much interest in formation flying throughout the course of the afternoon so far, and indeed that trend continues as Jorg Mani goes to the inside line, gets himself clear into the lead of the Masters race. And what I would give to see Jorg Mani back on the top of a Masters podium. He really has had a tough couple of weeks, and I think he would probably deserve it a little bit more than anyone.
Would definitely be redemption for him here in Germany. Tell you what, I'm really looking forward to talking ahead here. Look at next week, we visit Spa. That is going to be one not to miss out here on Apex Racing TV. Make sure you tune in for that one, that's for sure, because that's going to be wild. And also, it's the classic pits, Tom. So it's going to be a really treacherous pit entry, which I think could catch a few of our drivers out. Bit like, not too dissimilar to here at Hockenheimring, where it's a bit of an awkward pit entry, and as we're starting to enter deeper into that pit window territory, I do wonder if any of the drivers will get caught out by it.
Well, Lewis Hamilton knows about this pit entry, doesn't he? Does Kimi Raikkonen?
Oh, of course, the perennial in, out, in, out.
Yes, and twice actually, 2 years
ago.
in a row, he had issues at the pit entry here, 2018 and 19. One of the more difficult pit lanes in Formula 1 racing. Chris Murakami is looking back at Gardini. This is for 9th position, top 10, relatively minor positions. Gardini, as we understand it, is in the Spec 1 category, by the way. Your graphics are slightly deceiving you. Unfortunately, producer Joshua has got the wrong project file for today. So that is why there's a little bit of confusion, so we apologise about that on the YouTube stream. But we're having a look at this battle as Rice gets back to the lead of the Masters. I reckon those two, Mani and Rice, Race, I apologise, I believe they're letting each other through, and doing the perfect slipstreaming, beautiful sort of job.
And Tom, that's why they call it Masters category. They've been around the block. They know what they're up to. They know each other inside out. They've raced many a season in the SRF Weekend Warriors together. They got it locked down. They know full well that that is the only way they're going to catch the flying foursome up in front of Panera, Castro, Green, and Dantas. But I was just looking down for the see who's gained what. Caleb Pocock, the American, on the flyer, 3rd in Spec 2, 16th overall. But Flavio Andalo started 36th, up 22 spots into 14th. The Brazilian is throwing shapes out there and getting it done. It's busted more moves than your average Friday night from your small local town nightclub where you stick to the floor. It's Race and Mani. They are in. Well, Tom, you said about working together. Well, I think that just truly epitomises it and fully confirms it. If you had any smidge bit of a doubt whatsoever.
The floor of your local nightclub, Tim. I only caught the end of that sentence.
Oh, it's sticky something as it makes gaffer tape or gorilla tape or super glue make it seem like it's very low tack and non-adhesive. Honestly, peel your feet off the floor.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Hearing it from Tim Cox. Maybe you need to find a new town to go to, Tim, if that's that's your experience. But Marty and Rice are out. Cathcart takes the lead. No, he doesn't. He takes second place in the Masters race because actually Murakami, who hasn't pit yet, is up in 8th and up in the lead. So that undercut is really going to be quite interesting.
Ooh, Murakami's just passed Gardini much further up ahead. Cathcart he's actually 3rd because Gradwell is 2nd, Tom. He's nestling in 11th, just ahead of him because he's embroiled in that battle. McCain parts Gardini. Gardini's dropped a couple of places. Oh, I think there's been a big shunt out on track. There's been a big shunt somewhere because I've seen Marnie is losing a lot of places. Is this what started it?
Not again.
Gardini loses the rear.
McCain's on the outside line. He's okay.
So
what's happened to Jorg Mine? He's only lost 2 positions actually, so I'm not necessarily hugely concerned for him.
Well, Love and Cathcart have all been involved as well. So I don't. Something's happened. Like I said, they haven't lost too much time. So there's no damage to his car, so it can't be that bad. But clearly they've all had a bit of a bump and grind, haven't they? Somewhere along the line. Josh, our producer, trying to dig that one out of the archives for us. A lot going on here, as always. Lots of overtakes and trying to pick it out. Right, now is this going to tell us exactly what happened? So there's Antonio Race just ahead of us. He's looking like he's going to make a bit of a move. Or does he? Okay. Oh, there you go. And contact with Cathcart. Sent him around. There you go. And that's why he lost all that time. And that's Andrew Love just sneaking his way through. Gradwell, Leone, Cathcart, Love and Rodriguez all into the pit lane. Everyone from 13th upwards still carries on though.
And is it still maybe a little bit early? I don't think it's a surprise that we haven't seen Pinero, Castro and Co in yet. I think all of them,
well,
they love to go long, don't they?
They do. But I think with Pinero leading it for so long, I think the others, them showing, similar pace. I mean, last time around, identical lap times. 155.14s for Pinero and Castro. I think Castro, Green and Dantas have just fuel saved this one. I think Pinero is going to get hung out to dry. I think. Watch me be proved wrong, as Leone just makes his way past Tom Gradwell. And in fact, if he's clever about it, he might sneak past Kurt Nunes. He's going to give it a good go. Well, dines out on a 2-for-1 meal deal there. Down into the hairpin. Off he goes. Take about Luca Leone.
Well, if there's ever a piece of opportunistic driving, that is, that is the one for you. Show that to the kids getting into racing. Tom Gradwell here will look up the inside. Not quite find his way through. Nunez, who had that, little bit of an off track just a few moments ago. 54.3 is the pace of Pinero. 53.9 is the pace of this man, Jason Green. Fastest man on the circuit, but that's worth naught if you're not in the lead of the race. A few more people jumping to the pit lane as well in the meantime. Montgomery, Pocock and Jacobson. It'll be interesting to see if Castro, who is really on the back of Pinero right here, is going to go to the inside line. He's practically pushing him through the corner. Pinero had to brake 10 metres early there. And going straight into the back of his doo-doo, Castro. Only a full breaks the 2-second rule, but Castro is not quite living by that at the moment. Be interesting to see those two, because I don't necessarily think Pinero has got the greatest pace on this track, and I don't think he has done for much of this race so far.
I think that maybe he knows he's not getting any help from the guys behind and they're fuel saving this, so he's like, right, okay, I've just got to lift and coast into every corner. And as for your 2-second rule, I think it's more like 2/10 rule, that Dudu Castro's trying to apply here, isn't it? They've been around 2 to 3 tenths behind one another since we started out on a voyage of discovery about 14 laps ago here in the Hockenheimring in round 9 of the championship. And I mean, Panero, as much as he's got to be trying to fuel save his way around this one, there's only so much he can do, because even with his fuel saving, it just means that Castro, Green and Dantas are just going to be doing more because they've got the slipstream as well.
He is good on his fuel, though, is Marco Panero. Let's remember that. He's very good on his fuel. So
Murakami in from the lead of Masters, Tom.
Oh, there we go. So that's going to be interesting then. We're going to see whereabouts Rice and Marnie are. Is Chris Murakami going to make the overcut strategy work? We think most people thinking about that undercut, most people trying to pull off that undercut. Is it actually going to be the opposite that works? Not for Murakami, because Antonio Rice Jeanette goes to the lead of the race. Now we look for Marnie, who's making his way up into turn 2. There goes Jörg Marnie. So actually our top 3 in the Masters are all next to each other on the circuit, but not next to each other in terms of physically being close to each other. They're quite a ways apart. This is the battle for, I believe, the Spec 2 lead as Gardini goes down the inside of Alan McCain. So Alan McCain loses out on that spot. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Claudio Gardini is indeed in the Spec 2. I'm trying to have a look at his iRating, and it's not on my screen, so never mind about that.
This is where it gets tricky, because Alan McCain technically is now Spec 1, technically, but it's where you start the season now. So I can't remember where Claudio Gardini started the season at. I think he was Spec 1. Well, I'm now starting to really, really doubt myself. You know when someone goes, yeah, but you sure? Either way, don't stop with these two having a good old fight. Interestingly as well, Murakami didn't take the lead of Masters because he was stopped for long. Panero in the though. He's coming alone though, as Castro, Green and Dantas go again, Tom. Oh, well, there you go. That just shows, I know you were singing his praises, Plaver and Overstreet come in as well, but how good the Italian is at fuel saving, and he's got the fuel saving game down to a T. He is strong at it. But with these guys just sat in his slipstream, there's nothing he could do. Gardini, McCain, and Darlow in. And Darlow's up 27 places, so he's going to lose a fair few due to the round of pit stops. But even so, that's impressive. That's Andres Bertoni levels of skills. As there goes Overstreet back out. She's climbed a place. She's got the jump on Jörg Marnie.
Yes.
I'm just trying to see who else, if anyone stopped for too long. No, they haven't.
Well, as Panero re-emerges into 4th, he's got a nice bit of clean air. So we'll wait and see if Castro, Green and Dantas, if they start battling now, that's the race over for them. So they've got to keep this formation flying going. And Dudu Castro is looking very fast indeed. This would be vengeance for what happened last time out at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And, well, sweet revenge, I think, not to pin the blame on Marco Panero for that particular incident. Obviously, we know netcode was involved. Oh, no, that's not ideal. Car off on the right-hand side. Drivers get clear of him, though, so no huge drama there. And I would imagine they have to be in this lap. I would be sure of it that they're in this lap, to be honest with you. They're going to prove me wrong, though, aren't they? As they round the final 2 corners here at the Hockenheimring. And indeed, Castro and Dantas dive to the pit lane. Dantas clearly there, wanted to follow whoever was in the lead in. He's done that, so Green carries on for one more lap. Castro then has the overcut strategy worked a treat. Where is Marco Panero?
There he is, Tom. There he is. He's coming through the final corner. No, surely not. No, you can't have done that as Castro gets going again. Where has Marco Panero pulled that one from, potentially? Where is he? As Castro's still ahead. No, he's not. Well, he was further around Castro than what I thought he was going to be. Well, Castro stopped for
But
2
he's
seconds
got cold
less
tyres.
than Pinero and Dantas.
But he's got the cold tyres. So now Pinero has perhaps got 1 or 2 laps. It is chased turns into chaser here with Marco Pinero. Not been in this situation too often this season, has he? And well, with about a second to the car ahead, we see a car off. That's Justice, I believe, who's in pit lane, or in fact, no, it's Jason Green. Jason Green is off, and that's the car that stopped on the exit of turn 6. I thought it was. I thought my eyes were deceiving me, to be honest with you. But Jason Green, I think, has gone a lap too long.
Oh no, it's all fallen apart for the American. Wow. Drama, and we're not even at the end yet, as Pinero's closed that gap down to 6/10, Tom. Here we go. The grandstand finish that we were all waiting for. We knew that would come. It is game on here in Germany. Who's going to take it? Will it be Castro or is it going to be Pinero? These two are not going to leave anything left on the table, Tom. They're going to throw everything out. The kitchen sink, the baby with the bathwater. But will it be South America? Will it be Europe? Will it be Brazil? Will it be Italy? Well, luckily, we've only got 7 minutes to find out now.
3 laps, perhaps sneaking in a 4th. I would wager 4. Actually, it will be close. The current pace they're running, we should get 4 in here. So that is plenty of time for Marco Pinero, who looks very racy indeed, to get past Dudu Castro, who wants this race win so desperately after what happened last time out that we mentioned so much on this broadcast, but for good reason. Really, Dudu Castro is going to have to fight this hard, though. Marco Pinero is in the slipstream. It's only 3/10 of a second, and the slipstream, well, it's worth about 3/10 of a second down this back straight to eyeball it, and immediately Pinero gets the overspeed. He has got so much speed in chase of Dudu Castro. Will he get to the inside line into turn 6? Will there be a dive? There won't be just yet. Pinero is going to play the long game here. Thinks about a bit of a switchback as Castro goes slightly wide. This is Megan Overstreet trying to get around Jorg Marni. Jorg Marni isn't going to let that happen so easily. In fact, that might indeed be Jorg Marni back past Megan Overstreet. It's one of the two. They make a little bit of contact on the exit of that hairpin. Castro, by the way, has gained a 1/10 of a second, or has he? No, because Marni, I apologise, Pinero, gained a little bit more in that slipstream. Overstreet still racing, looks to go down the inside, but, well, difficult corner to go down the inside right there. It's turn 8.
And you're right, well, the latter was right, Tom. Marni is now ahead of Overstreet. As well, here's a driver in massive need of a beer, if there ever was one. The man out of Texas, Jason Green. He danced with the devil in Interlagos earlier on this evening in the Formula Fords, Tom, where he was chugging across the line, but he had such a healthy lead, he got away with it, and he's pushed it 1 lap too far here in Germany in the SRFs. Oh, gutting for him. Gutting. And it looks like, wow, a podium, possibly even a victory here in Germany. It's now looking to look like, what, maybe 15th at very, very best? Maybe 20th? I don't know.
This is going to be the battle. Pinero closer than he was on the previous lap. Does he go for the move? You can't not go for the move. And he is going to help himself to first position. Marco Pinero, not the better of the pit stop strategies, but he's leading. Oh, no, he's not, because he's wide. And that is going to allow Castro back through. I thought for a moment that Pinero was through there. And to be honest with you, Pinero was through, but he totally outbroke himself down into the hairpin. And I was about to say that's why he's the championship leader, but certainly not with moments like that. That's a rare lapse in concentration for Marco Pinero.
Still got time on his side, though, Tom. Still got time on his side. There's all Playver's now ahead of Overstreet there, so Overstreet's in the last probably about 5 minutes has dropped, not even that, it's dropped 2 places to Marnie and Blaver. Meanwhile, Antonio Race actually isn't really getting away from these guys, despite how much battling is going on between them. I say battling, it's not really elbows out, but definitely some interchanging positions for sure. Now, just looking at where we are, Tom, we're about to come up to 37 minutes. I think my spidey senses are telling me they take the white flag next time around.
Yes, that would be correct. I don't think there's going to be any iRacing trickery right there, but Marco Pinero, will this be the opportunity on what we assume to be the penultimate lap of this motor race? We're going to be on board with it, and he's going to be in the slipstream. Round 2, Marco Pinero on Dudu Castro. Will he get through on this occasion? Here he goes, hooks that inside line as they go through into turn 6. Castro's going to hold the inside line. It's a staunch defence, but the overspeed might just be too much from the Italian. Around the outside he goes. This will have to be brave. It's a braver defence from Dudu Castro. Marco Pinero looks for the switchback, won't find the switchback, but he has got a little bit of pace on the exit. To the inside line he goes now into the next corner. I apologise, it would be the outside line, won't it? Around the outside goes Marco Pinero. They're side by side. Castro holding on to the race lead, but not for long, because Marco Pinero, oh no, gets to the inside line and still somehow finding a bit of overspeed on the inside line is Dudu Castro. That is quite an unbelievable defence. It's not over just yet. They've still got another corner to go, as around the outside is Marco Pinero. Can't get through, and Dudu Castro, finally confirmation, will hold on to that position. Pinero, for virtually all of this penultimate lap, is still trying to find a way through around the outside. That will finally put an end to the attack on this lap. What a defence from the Brazilian.
I'm not sure if that was the full intent from Pinero. I do wonder if that was just maybe a dress rehearsal. Test things out. What will Castro do as we take this final lap? White flag in the air. 1 to go here in round 9 of the SRF Weekend Warriors, presented by RaceVoice, live on Apex Racing TV. And here we go, folks. Will it be Castro? Will it be Pinero? Will it end in tears like we saw in Interlagos 2 weeks ago? Down through into turn 2 on the exit. Even again, will Castro defend the inside like he did last time? On board with Pinero. Castro moves to the left. He almost dips the tyre into the grass there. Pick a line. He goes the inside. Pinero's got the overspeed once again as we come down towards the hairpin. And Pinero just shuts the nose off. He gets to the inside. But could Castro have him on the switchback here? Onto the brakes. Castro tries to go the long way round, right round the outside. He snatches the brake, and that gives it to Pinero. And oh, I nearly lost it there. Coming on to the throttle once again. And Pinero is through, and he's got a second on Castro. And I think that's us done, Tom.
What a disappointing way for that to end from Dudu Castro. It was such a strong defence, and I give him full credit for that. Chris Murakami alongside Alan McCain as they go down into turn 6. Murakami on the inside line in the 901 for 8th position, and he's going to get clear to that 8th position. Your Spec 2 leader not quite able to hold on. That being said, he has got a fantastic run back on the switchback out of that turn 6 hairpin. So here goes Alan McCain. No, eventually goes to the rear of Chris Murakami, and I think that's perhaps sensible. He's got the win in Spec 2, and that is all that matters for Alan McCain.
Well, Ken Batley's going to pick up second in class. He's looking for that Phil Berry. You can see on the screen third in class in the 888 machine, which is Dan Wood is closing in, and he's dying seconds here as Pinero takes the checkered flag. He's your Victor. Castro finishes second. Dantas third. 2 Brazilians on the podium here. Antonio Race going to take the victory in Masters as he comes across the line. Let's play that. Well, close in the end in 5th. Marnie and Overstreet all into the pit lane. That's very late. She may as well just kept going once more. That's damage. She's had an instance on that last lap. I'm sure she hasn't got a bonnet.
Black and orange technical flag, perhaps.
Oh, good point. It could well be.
Either that or a drive-through. Because if you come into the pits, you don't necessarily have to fix it once you cross the line.
Wow.
Oh, dear. I don't want to pin the blame on Megan Overstreet without seeing what happened to her. But, yes, certainly not ideal straight away.
That's with Bob Kern, I do believe, who she made the contact with. All pressing matters. McKay wins Spec 2. Murakami going to run out that Masters podium. And then Pocock and Justice, the two young Americans. 16th, 17th overall. Second and third in Spec 2. Highest position climber, Flavio and Darlo take about 27 places, Tom. The Brazilian, and gets inside the top 10. He finishes in 9th. That's strong.
Carving his way through the field. I mean, that's the only real way to describe that. But, I'll get your results in a moment, as all 36 of our drivers have crossed the line by my reckoning. Then we get to some interviews. That's going to be very exciting. Probably the closest finish we've had for a while here in SRF Weekend Warriors. Here we go then. Results building. They are on their way. Takes a moment. The AI back there working away. There's no AI in it. Got to be working on those results. Marco Pinero wins from Dudu Castro. Jason Green is in third. Andrea Favini in fourth. Fifth is enough for the Masters win for Antonio Rice, Jeanette, Evandro Dantas and Megan Overstreet, 6th and 7th. Yogmani in second in the Masters, Jason Perry and Alice Blaver, your top 10.
In 11th was Murakami, and then we've got Berry, McKay and Gardini, Batley, Gradwell, Gorey, Montgomery, and moving through is Wood and Leone to run out that top 20, Tom.
It is Nunes and Brewster, Jeff Jacobson and Ian Gibson behind them. Brad Cathcart, Gianni Longini, Joshua Justice and Bradford Gould, your top 28.
We'll do a bit of a chat too.
As well.
That's all right. We'll have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers. Well, we've only got one in so far, so therefore we should talk to them first. Logically, Antonio Race joins us now. I mean, congratulations on the win in Masters. However, I mean, York really pushed you a lot of the way, or it seemed that. Or were you two working together? That's what we seem to think in commentary.
Hello, good night, guys. Yes, we was working together, and then we was communicating on the Discord, and we was pushing. We was also battling, so we was trying to get the first position, both of us, and so we was just keeping safe and try to do some strategy on the pit, early pit. So to avoid giving draft to the highs behind, and so somehow it works.
Well, it worked certainly for you, and I'm sure it would have worked even more so for Jorg. Obviously, made contact later on, and obviously after coming out of the pits, which is a bit of a shame, really, because we look forward to a battle between you two later on the race. But next week, just taking a little look ahead to it, we head to Spa. Is that what you're looking forward to at all?
Spa. Well, Spa, it's a very draft track, so it's also very technical. So it's a nice track. I like Spa. So we will see what will going to happen.
Well, it's the classic pit, so that means it's got that. It's the second pit lane, so you've got the long pit exit and also a bit of that niggly pit entry as well. So I'm sure it's going to probably catch a few of our drivers out. But either so, congratulations on Terry Race, your winner here today in Masters. Tom,
Thank you guys for having me.
That's no problem at all, Antonio. Pleasure as always. Tom, I understand you've managed to rustle up a driver to have a chat with.
Hello again, jumping up into the commentary box. Alan, welcome along. Another win for you in the Spec 2s. You're running away with this championship now. It must be a pretty good feeling.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say run away, because tonight I was actually dreading this track. I have done absolutely no practice this week. It just happened to be I got the jump on Phillip, at turn 1, and it just all went and just followed the rest of them all the way.
Well, I mean, surely that's a bit of encouragement that you can take forward. You don't like the track, and you've managed to find yourself with a win.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to. It's something I know what I can do. If I put my head to it, it'll be better.
And, well, in terms of next week, is it a track that you prefer a little bit more?
I would like to say yes. Don't even know where it's at next week, to be quite truthful.
No, to be honest with you, that's what I didn't say because I didn't know either.
Bath.
Spa, there you go. I thought it
Yeah,
might be, you know.
yeah,
It might be Bath.
Yeah, I like Spa, but I don't know what. I'm not too sure about it with the spec racer, but yeah, we'll give it a good go.
Well, I'm sure you will. Well, enjoy tonight, Alan. Good drive from you, and hopefully we speak to you next week. Well, I won't be speaking to you next week. I'm on a holiday, but hopefully whoever jumps in will be speaking to you next week.
Thank you. Have a good holiday.
Thank you, Alan, and speak to you soon. Well, that's just about it, Tim, and I think we're just about out of time as well.
Got that one perfectly, haven't we? It's almost like we know what we're doing once in a while. But well, this rounds things out for Super Sunday here on Apex Racing TV. We kicked off with the Formula 4s at Interlagos. We finished with the SRFs here at Hockenheim in Germany. Congratulations to Marco Pinero. That penultimate lap battle between him and Castro. It's a shame it just didn't last one lap more. Even so, would you expect anything less? It's the SRF weekend, Warriors. We'll see you in a week's time when we head to Spa. I've been Tim Cox with Josh Wilkie and Tom Dillon. Good night.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.